is occasionally embarrassing. Create structure and stick to it. Actually, for me, sticking to a structure is more important than what's within that structure in some cases. Sometimes the behaviours that I demonstrate and the things that I say and do seem hurtful. Sometimes they are hurtful. Try and think about the intent of that behaviour and what caused it rather than how it made you feel as a person. You know, I know that I can be annoying, I can be frustrating, I can sometimes make people feel very angry with me, but that's usually not my intent. Usually it's the fact that I'm confused, stressed, unsure, angry. Debriefing is really important. So if a situation or an incident occurs, it is actually important to talk about it, but not necessarily right at that moment. You know, it can be that giving yourself, giving the people around you 3 or 4 hours to cool down, to maybe spend some time doing something they enjoy away from other people, can actually mean that when you come back together, you're able to discuss the incident or what they've said or what's been done in a much more calm and reflective way than if you try and solve a particular problem or try and deal with a particular incident at the moment it occurs. Sometimes I choose to spend time engaging in my special interests rather than being with other people, and that's absolutely fine. Sometimes I get more angry with my parents than I do with the people that actually caused me the stress. And I think, you know, when I was at school, my parents got really confused because the very polite, well-behaved child that was described to them by the teaching staff was not the same as the much more angry, aggressive, lively young man they were seeing at home. And that was actually because home was where I was most comfortable. Home was where I was getting rid of all the negative energy, anger, frustration that I was feeling at school but wasn't able to show. Communication is hugely affected by stress. When I'm calm, I can hold sophisticated, reasoned conversations with things like humour and sarcasm, and I can, to a certain extent, even understand and comprehend body language, tone of voice, etc. When I'm stressed, my level of communication drops hugely, to the point where sometimes when I get really angry or really upset, I can't talk at all. I can only communicate using email or writing stuff down. Stress isn't a one-off event. There's always a build-up. So don't necessarily assume that just because someone doesn't cope in an environment once, that they're never going to cope. Think about the amount of stress that they took in. And if you know that your child or yourself is going to be in a situation where you're going to experience high levels of anger or frustration or confusion, then make sure that the stuff you do before and after creates as little stress as possible. And one piece of advice that my mum actually found very helpful was to ignore what she called the gate committee at schools. She kind of referred to it as the gate committee, as the groups of parents who kind of gather before and after school and talk about all the achievements that their children have done, you know, throughout the week or throughout the term. And sometimes that can make parents feel really awful if actually the achievement they've had is there hasn't been a meltdown this week.